topic here, which is, does it make sense to pay for clients? So for tomorrow, which is Thursday, every Thursday we do this, by the way, at 8:30 a.m. West Coast time, we have the Brain Box, which is a real tight group of people who are only interested in advancing their notary business. So tomorrow's topic, I'm gonna bring it up. Let me bring it up. So let me show you, man. I'll show you exactly what I'm kind of working on right now. This is so for the last 4 weeks, every Thursday for the whole month of December, we've been meeting, and I've been talking specifically about a set of topics. And next, so week number one, which was December 7th, I believe. Yes, December 7th. We talked about the 5 must-have tools to operate the notary business. And week number 2, which is the 14th, we talked about the sales call. How do you keep the momentum going? How do you set the appointments? How do you bring excitement to the call so that this person wants to do business with you? That doesn't mean that they can always do business with you. Some people who call, they may tell you that I don't have identification. They might say, I have a picture of my Nevada driver's license, but I don't actually have the physical copy, right? So all these people want to do business with you. That doesn't mean that they can do business with you. So when you take those sales calls, because every phone call is a sales, when you take those calls, how do you keep that momentum going? How do you make sure that this person, that they know that they can actually do business with you? And if they can't, then that should end the call right there. So, and the easiest way to kind of go about that, and we talked about this in the whole Brain Box for the last 4 weeks. Week number 2, the sales call, is that people have to say yes to your questions. When that demonstrates that they understand why they're there. That's the only way that they can do it, by them agreeing. If they say no, then that means that they're confused and that they may not be in the right place. So when you ask questions, their answer should always be yes. And then, so that's week number 2. Week number 3, that's my favorite, going over the sales calls. That stuff I love that. It's because it's so easy. People, they're just throwing softballs and bam, just hit them out the park every time. Week number 3 talked about the business model, the automation business model in itself. What are the components? Voice automation, scheduling automation, lead generation automation. And, the rest of it is up to you. What you decide to do with it at that point is entirely up to you. You can go execute the appointments yourself. That's one option. The other option would be to secure the appointment and then spread the love. Spread the wealth around and then give it to other people. And that's always an option, especially if you love or value your time. So you can, I talked about the automation business model and why it's a modern, up to date. It has the experiences to grow, with you. Let's see. All right. And then for tomorrow, it's going to be the one that this is the one that the question that everybody has on their mind is, how do I get more clients? And just like you see the topic of this live here, does it make sense to pay for clients? So I'm going to answer that question dead on tomorrow. But meanwhile, if you have questions, throw them in there, and let's see if we can answer your specific questions. But the one question, if your question is related to what I just covered, listen, you're doing yourself a disservice and not getting in on the Brain Box tomorrow. Normally, these are not displayed publicly. You have to be invited to this because it's not just for everybody. If you don't have any desire to be better at the phone calls, you don't have any desire to use Thumbtack, none of this stuff would even matter to you. You wouldn't have any interest in it. So that's why it's not open to the public. You have to be invited to this. But for tomorrow and for the last 4 weeks, we've been having it open. Just come on in, just pop in. Sit down, pull up a chair, grab some coffee, and then you see if any of the subjects or any of the topic material interests you. So you look at it through a couple of different lenses. You look at it as, can I actually do this? Can I take my existing notary business? Can I use some of this information to improve my situation? All right. That's one way to look at it. The other way to look at it is, can I actually, is this information relevant enough for me to, apply in my real life and make a living and make some decent income? So you could actually benefit just by, and again, I'll go over the topics. Top five must have business tools. Right. That's a picture. The sales call. How to keep the momentum. The business model, so the automation business model. And then tomorrow, we talk about paid advertisements. Talk about Thumbtack and Google. So the question is, does it make sense? Does it make sense to pay for clients? It's a question I would ask you. I mean, if you think about it, it depends. It might make sense to, have more people knocking at your door. You just want to get volume, you just want to get numbers, you just want to get people, as many as people, just knocking. People trying to get married. People got loved ones in the hospital. People got investment accounts. People buying property. It's just more and more people. And then on the other hand, when you're asking yourself or trying to answer the question, does it make sense to pay for clients? It might, if you get more quality people, more of the people who, like I was saying, they respond yes when you ask questions. So, does it make sense? I mean, the other option to me is, all right, I can either get my commission and I can put my name on databases. I can put my name on the directory. I can do that. That's one way to go about it. The other way is I can do that, and on top of that, I could put my foot in front of somebody as they're looking for a notary. I'm just boom, injecting myself into their path. So that means they're Googling for notary, and then they come across my banner. If I'm willing to put my name out on a directory, on a listing, and some type of database, and then be contacted by a company who's looking for me, if I'm willing to do that, then the only difference between me paying for that is now some of the responsibility is on me. Now I have to actually feel a little bit of that hit. That punch it stings a little bit more when you now pay for it. But I make the case, I would argue that anytime somebody calls you, whether you know it or not, you are paying for it. Every time somebody contacts you by email or by text or phone, you're paying for that. I would say that you are actually, you may not even be aware of it. You may not even know. So tomorrow, when I talk about introducing the paid advertising, I'm thinking Thumbtack, Google Business. I'm going to give you 2 case studies in which you might make sense. It might make sense to you, may not make sense. And we were talking about this earlier with how do you even come up with a price? Well, how do you determine if it's worth your time? You got to come up with a price first. And then when you come up with the price, you know your price per hour. Let me see if I can pull this up. You know your price per hour, and then you can easily answer that question, whether or not it makes sense. Pull this up real quick. Watch this. We were just talking about this today in the war room. Shout out to the war room, by the way. Here it goes, right here. FHP. Where's it at? F divided by H equals P over 2. It's a real formula. Your price per hour, freedom number, hours of availability, price per hour. And then you just divide it by 2 because you divide it by 2, then it's half an hour. It's a real formula. If you didn't have an answer before, you got one now. You have an answer. And now what? And then you go from there. Oh, what up, Jasmine? So if you think about it, if it makes sense to pay for a client, and so the question, Jasmine, is, does it make sense to pay for clients? And it might make sense, and it may not, but has anyone ever taught you how to do that? And what do you even evaluate? What are you looking for to give yourself an answer to that question? Probably the most obvious question or answer would be, how much can I charge? Because if I'm paying, say, so here's an example. I know for a fact that people who install pools, like they do hot tub installations and like pool installations, like you might be paying $50, $35 to $50 per lead. That means you already coming out of pocket every time somebody contacts you. But is it worth it to pay that much for a lead? It might be, because the actual job itself could be thousands of dollars. So you can actually, there's so much room to profit within that. So it could make sense. And for some people, $35 might be cheap. But if you take that same logic and you apply that to notary, then you might pay $5 for somebody to get in front of you. Or you might pay $10 or 12 or 16 or whatever the question or whatever the amount may be. Then does it make sense? Is it worth it? Jasmine says, that's a good question. It depends on how much you're paying. Yeah, I think it under any situations, it would be, damn. All right. I got somebody coming to do some work on my house. And this guy, he's a little late. He's a little behind schedule. But it's all good. Jasmine says, yes, notary usually cheaper cost per click. Yeah, much cheaper, especially considering what you can command for it. There's a great spread. Nothing like tea all over your face. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. And I already know that people are a little bit hesitant, apprehensive to do that, to start setting that up and paying for clients. But really, I don't know. I don't see how else you could do it. Would it make sense, not to do it? I can see under some circumstances where it wouldn't make sense. It's hard to think of them, though. So tomorrow's brain box, that's exactly what we're diving into, which is how to introduce paid advertisements. Thumbtack Google. Pay for people to get in front of you. How to get comfortable with it, because the other option would be crossing your fingers or putting your name on the back of a yellow page where you're just not going to get that much traffic. It's just the return on the amount of energy that you input is just, I don't know. I'm not saying that it's entirely a bad strategy. Anytime you can get your name somewhere, then go for it. But it just doesn't make sense. Jim says, if you only charge $5 for an appointment, then it might not be worth it. Exactly. It depends on who you ask. It depends on who is answering the question. Is it worth it or not? So if you don't know your price, then that means $5 it may not be worth it because it may cost you $5.35, just like on this example here. Yeah, so if you're not tomorrow, go to drtech.com and get in the brain box for tomorrow. I'm going to do a case study on that exact scenario. And it's crazy. If you pay $5.35, see, I think this was about $5.35. Let me see. Nope, no, it was $3.54. Same number combination, similar. And then you turn around and only charge $10. It's no, exactly. Yeah, it's not gonna work out. No more tea. What other scenario would it make sense to pay for clients? Under what circumstance? So tomorrow when we're in the brain box, I'm diving in on this. And I could be swayed either way. I really could, if it makes sense or not. I could be swayed that let's talk about this. Like, so for example, a remote online notary. So if you don't know, then remote online notarizations have been processed, and what's up, my man, what's up? Has been in the state of California. You can now do formal notarizations remotely, and this may not mean anything at all to you, nothing at all, but it does. It should, because if you're not used to some of this more advanced technologies, like just the advertising side of it, and you were like a proponent of remote online notarizations past, you were like in favor of it, you might want to slow down. You might want to be a little bit cautious with how fast you want to move. And here's the reason why. Let's just say I'm some big company, or I don't even have to be big. I just have to be bigger than you. And by bigger, I mean I have to have more money than you. So if before last month I was unable to advertise in your backyard, I was unable to reach, it didn't make sense for me to go after your clients. It just didn't, because I don't live in your particular state and I can't service your particular clients a month ago. Now, let's fast forward a month later, or today, present day, and now you're able to go into someone else's territory, someone else's backyard, meaning, their states. I don't even have to be in their state, but I can go into your state, and by that I mean I can advertise in your backyard. So that means if somebody's looking for a notary and they want to do it remotely, then I, the person with a bigger budget, can now appear higher in the search results than you ever could. You just could not compete. So therefore, I take your client. Your client's not going to you anymore because I'm much more convenient. I was able to capture their attention first. And as we know, 92% of business happen, or interactions happen over the phone, and 35 to 50% of the time, the person who gets it first, the person who responds first, is the person who essentially gets the client. So we know automatically, if you were a proponent of remote online notarizations in California, for example, I'm just saying, but anywhere really it applies. But if you wanted it to pass so badly and you didn't already have a game plan for how do you advertise, or you were not introduced to paying for clients, marketing, online marketing. I'm saying, like, not posting online. I'm saying you actually, put money up to advertise. If that wasn't already in your real wheelhouse, and and now a remote online notary company, which can be anywhere, they don't have to be in your jurisdiction, they don't have to be in your state. Yeah, you could be in some some sticky waters. You can be in some very, very tight situations because, like I said, I can now come into your backyard and advertise. I can now go right into down your block and on your street and then set up shop. Just like that. And all it really matters is, like I said, 35 to 50% of the time, the person who answers first is going to get it. And if you're notoriously bad with answering your phone, you don't have these voice automated techniques installed. If this is like foreign to you, then all of a sudden allowing a remote online notary company to come in and then dictate what happens, I'm just bad move. I'm just saying, be cautious. Be very cautious. Now, here's the cool thing. You can always learn. It's never too late. You can always educate yourself on how to, improve your advertisement game to beef up that side of your business that probably is lacking. You can always learn it. It evolves very quickly, but it's not something that's impossible. I will say this, it's boring. It's very boring. It's very mundane. There's a lot of numbers and looking at stuff. But is it worth it? I think it is. I think so. I wouldn't leave it up to chance. Judgment says facts. You have to start establishing your brand right now, because soon the guys with the big marketing budgets are going to be coming into the market. 100%, I agree. Why wouldn't they? Why wouldn't they? I mean, isn't that why they're supposed to do that? That's what they're supposed to do. It's an entirely new market that didn't exist before, and now it does exist. Why wouldn't they? It would be misguided to think that, oh, just because now I live in the state of California and now I can do this remotely, that I'm going to all of a sudden, that's going to result in more work for me. It would be, as they call, fallacious. It would be dangerous to think that. That's not how it works. It's not how it works. I mean, let me ask you, if you were a company and then all of a sudden you got access to more of a market, would you then hire more people, or would you say, well, let's see what the people who we already have, let's see what they can absorb. How much can they tolerate? Why would you all of a sudden, that wouldn't even make sense to now all of a sudden now say, all right, now I have access to the state of California. I'm going to hire more notaries. Now, of course, there's exceptions to these rules, but what I'm trying to get you to think, if you were a business owner, would you do that? No, I'll tell you what you would do is you would have your territory, or in this case, it would be like, it was defined by the state. And if I'm in the northern part of the state versus the southern part of the state, I know that I have the capacity to, if I know that I'm going to say, just for example, Orange County, that does more people who are immigrants, and I can speak Spanish, and I know that people who are looking for power of attorneys, but they have to be in a different language. I know that I could get to that market a little better. So I would, even though I'm not anywhere near that location, I would purposely set up shop and I would put advertisements targeting right that specific population. And it would work. And here's the reason why I know it would work, because I do that now. I do that in my own backyard. I go after a very highly specific type of client, very targeted type of person. I go after a person who, and I'm going to put it as simple as I can put it. I'm going after a person who don't care what the price is. That's not what they're looking for. I'm going for the person who needs it yesterday. That person is urgent. That's who I put all my marketing, my messaging towards that person. Now, it's of my belief that everybody to some degree fits into that role. No matter if you have a little bit of time, I would say everybody kind of fits into that role where they need it like yesterday. Now, the reality is they may not be able to get it yesterday, right? The reality is that they're going to get it in 3 hours when we're available, but they just need that confirmation that somebody at some point in time is going to be coming to help them get this $100 million. I'm going after that particular person, and that person's out there. Believe me, they're out there. That person wants to skip the line. They don't want to wait in line. That's not their style. Their style is to skip the line or to do self-checkout. That's the person who I put all my messaging towards that person. And when you talk to that person, here's the thing. I think everybody kind of wants to do that. They may not always want to do it. They may not always be capable of doing that, but they want that. Everybody wants to sometimes. Imagine this. Imagine you went to a restaurant, and every time you went to a restaurant, they pulled up a chair and opened up the door for you, and they're like, there's a line, don't worry about it. You come right in. You come in through the back door, right? Imagine if everywhere you went, that's how you were treated. People want that. Even when it comes to notary, it's something as trivial as notary. People want that. So, and there's a way that you can give it to them. So I put all my messaging and I do all the technology around that particular type of attitude. And, it's out there. And it has nothing to do with the price. It has nothing to do with how much it costs or what the statute or what the law or what the state or electronic or remote. It has nothing to do with that. All it has to do with what time can you get here. That's all I want to know. What was I getting ready to show you? I was getting ready to show you something. So, is it worth it? Does it make sense to pay for clients? I don't know. I think you shouldn't guess. My wife sneezing. Bless you. I think it's worth it. I can see why in some cases it may not be worth it, but I think it is overall. It's more fun that way. All right. So, does it make sense? Will we ever get an answer to that question? Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Especially when you could get creative and really mold the business around your life. So what? You have to pay a couple of dollars. So what? Like, so for tomorrow in the Brain Box, again, if you haven't signed up for Brain Box, you're already slipping. Tomorrow's the last day. I mean, we do it every Thursday, but tomorrow's the last day where we're doing the special 30-day Brain Box challenge. But let me show you this here. So I don't know if you can see that or not, but this is one of the pictures from the slide. Yeah, it doesn't make sense. Just a question that's on my mind. You can't convince me otherwise. I think it does. If you've put all your time and your effort into some of the paid advertisement strategies and less about some of the free stuff, it would just come back. It would just come back. You would see how much of the other stuff is kind of maybe a waste of your time. Yeah, I can't wait for this tomorrow. I hope you get a chance to come. If you get a chance to come, I hope to see you there, and you really are going to be pleased you came. I hope you get a chance to come. All right, y'all. I'm gonna get out of here. I just wanted to come on here and ask you guys, get a sense of what your thoughts were, and if it made sense to start paying for clients. I mean, ask yourself, does it? It does to me. All right, y'all. I'm out of here.